This is Sigurdson of WeAreChange.org, joined, of course, with Josh Sigurdson, and welcome to the Living the Change newsletter in our introduction video to what we're going to be doing. And for legal purposes, I'm shooting this video somewhere in Cuba. Josh is somewhere else in the world, probably somewhere in Canada, and there's a big thing that we have to say here. We're not financial advisors. We're not experts. Josh, you know what to say, right? What else do we have to say?
This is simply our opinion. This is not investment advice of any kind. Do your own due diligence. Don't be stupid. You know the rest of it.
Ditto what Josh said. But what we're going to be doing here is having a conversation with you every 2 weeks about the crypto market and what's happening with Bitcoin, altcoins, and the larger market at all, with, of course, and as an example of a market where we put in our own money. We put in something like $2,000 hypothetically into an exchange, and we're going to be making moves and explaining those moves to you. And that's why in this video, we're going to explain kind of the basics of this and also maybe some of the bigger long-term investments that we might want to take for traders and people who want to put in some crypto money, leave some money there for a future investment. But Josh, we've been in this for a while. The market and the whole crypto space is getting very user-friendly, and pretty much anyone and everyone could just easily download an app, whichever one it may be. Coinbase has really been the main one that a lot of people have been using. People have been connecting their credit cards, their bank accounts through an application on Coinbase and paying for cryptos with credit cards through their banks. You could do many different ways, and of course, people have to be aware that whenever you do, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, or if I say anything in the legal stuff that may get us in trouble. But this again, just a rough kind of explanation here. People do have to understand that when you do buy crypto with money, you do have to pay taxes on it in many jurisdictions, in many places that you live. Especially if your bank account is connected to it. There are some people who do things illegally and do not buy crypto with credit cards or anything that could be linked to them. They do it through cash with things like local Bitcoin, which is a website that connects people peer-to-peer. They meet face-to-face, exchange whatever they have of value, US dollars, get some Bitcoins that, of course, they have a wallet that they establish through an IP, and they avoid taxes that way, which, of course, is illegal in many jurisdictions. But this does happen, and people do need to be made aware of it because, again, this crypto market is a very complex one, but it's one that's still figuring itself out. Even, Josh, I would say the jurisdiction in the United States, specifically with kind of your taxes with crypto, is a very confusing one, with a recent ruling saying that you're going to have to pay taxes on every single transaction that you have, whether it's USD to crypto, whether it's crypto to crypto, whether it's you moving out or in other market. Everything has to be documented, which is virtually impossible. And I don't know about you, Josh, but this definitely is a very looming kind of issue that I do believe sooner than later will be dealt with, and there will be some clarifications. But as of right now, it is very complicated to follow the jurisdictions that we have inside of the United States.
Yeah, there's a lot of gray area there. I mean, it's not even necessarily illegal to use local Bitcoins in cash transactions as long as you tell the government what you've done and have some kind of transaction record, which is why they tell you to put your money into, or your crypto into, the wallet on their website and trade it that way. But there's many ways to get into the crypto market. There's some people want to do the illegal way, which is, go on local Bitcoins. They don't have to pay a fee. You meet someone in person, make sure that you have some kind of defense with you if you're going to go that way, which I don't recommend. But all the same, make sure that you're
a public area with surveillance cameras, so people, a safe area. But,
because you're dealing with money. Yeah, you're dealing with a lot of money. If you're dealing with a lot of money, you obviously want to be safe, especially if you're like putting your 401k or something into crypto. But with that said, there
And if I
are
could just say, one more thing, because we're dealing with money, especially in this wild west crypto market, it is best to always be skeptical. It is best to always be safe and not to believe anyone, because there is a lot of get rich quick schemes. There are a lot of scammers. There are a lot of robbers that you need to be aware of. And me and Josh, being in this community for a number of years now, we have seen everything. I've also been scammed before. I had someone steal some of my crypto. Our friend Joe B. Weeks had millions of dollars stolen from his crypto account. So there's a lot of things to be very, very careful here, especially in this Wild West market that is extremely volatile, that you have to be very careful in when exploring possible investments. And before I go to Josh, I would always recommend, if the crypto world is not going away. The Bitcoins and cryptocurrency, it's a new technology that's going to be here that people are going to be using. And whether it's Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or Ripple or Monero or Zcash, whatever it may be, there will be the blockchain technology a part of our daily existence the more we go into this technological future. And I would say it would be a safe bet, especially with economic problems inside of the United States, with the large debt, with the artificial bubbles, with all the hooey and fakeness, that it would be intelligent for a human being to invest at least 15% of their revenue to alternative to the US dollars. That is my own personal opinion. You could take that as you want, but that to me would be a reasonable, smart approach to dealing with this new market. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
Overall, there's a multi-quadrillion estimated dollar derivatives bubble worldwide. There's a lot of issues everywhere. Most of the banks are bankrupt. The cash to deposit ratios at the banks are, in many cases with many of the big banks, under 1% of deposits covered in cash. So that's insane. We're seeing a lot of the return of all the stuff we saw in 2007 and 2008 on steroids. So let's look at, you mentioned getting scammed, and it is very possible, if you're not very responsible, to be scammed. Though I will say that the crypto market is there's less of a potential for you to get scammed than with something like a credit card or a bank account, because they're less secure. But if you are safe with cryptos, if you keep it safe, then you don't have anything to worry about. Just don't get involved in crazy ICOs and all that kind of stuff. Now, the most risky thing that you can do, but the most convenient thing you could do, interesting how it's like wolves in sheep clothing. It's always what's convenient is the most risky. But exchanges, online exchanges, they're centralized. They're like banks. There's big problems there. You could get hacked. You could lose it all. Countless exchanges have gone down in the past, not just Mt. Gox, but many of them. But they are
an exchange could be like, we want all your information. We want you to tell us your passport number or government ID, or else we're holding your crypto forever and not giving it back to you. And sometimes even those exchanges don't even approve your government ID. So there's also those problems which you need to be made aware of before getting into the crypto world. Yeah,
which is one of the biggest problems right now. Coinbase and Poloniex are notorious for this. Poloniex has just kind of destroyed their reputation, destroyed themselves by seizing people's crypto and freezing it. So just know that if you want to keep your crypto safe, eventually get a Ledger or a Trezor wallet. It's a hard wallet. It cannot be hacked. It's offline. You will just hold all of your crypto on these wallets. The safest thing you could do. But the most convenient thing you can do is, if you want to get into crypto and you're not into crypto yet, you can use your Visa card. You can use your MasterCard. You can use your bank account, PayPal included as well, to, in some cases, to put into online exchange, which in order to do trades, you'll likely have to send them a picture of your government-issued photo ID, social security number, all that kind of stuff, which is very intrusive to a lot of us. So there are other options. A lot of the Bitcoin ATMs do the same thing. However, some of them are more lenient, and they have like this KYC thing, which is crazy. You get tracked. This is one of the problems. This is why so many people break the law and do local Bitcoins, in-person transactions, and don't write it down. Now, with that said,
and again, we are not advocating for you to do the illegal way.
No, of course not. So also, there's Bitcoin ATMs everywhere now. Restaurants, bars, casinos, just little stores. I've seen them at, those water stores where you just fill up water jugs. They have like a Bitcoin ATM in the corner. They are everywhere. Look online for local Bitcoin ATMs. I mean, even all the way up in Winnipeg, Canada, they got a ton of them at shopping malls. Then in Las Vegas, I think there's like 100 of them around. They're just everywhere. They don't always have a ton of cash on them, so you might have to go to more than one if you want to do big transactions. And if you feel like the fees are too high, which they very often are, you can talk to people or you can call the company and see if they will lower the fee for you, because there is a chance that they will, because they want a profit and they want you as a customer. And it's more of a free market than you'll find anywhere else. So it's more likely that they'll actually cater to your needs instead of, doing whatever they want, like a massive monopoly would. So there's Bitcoin ATMs, there's online exchanges that are dangerous, but good in the short term if you want to just get in there quickly and not have to deal with much. There's local Bitcoins, which isn't necessarily illegal, because there's a lot of things you could do on local Bitcoins that's completely within legal grounds. And then, there's a few others, as meet up with a friend and stuff like that. But the point is, there are options, and people always look at this and they get scared, but it's getting easier and easier. I remember, Luke, a couple years back, having to deal with these ridiculous, these ridiculous wallets that you'd have to download the entire blockchain and take up like 150 gigabytes of space, which is insane. Sometimes as much as a terabyte. You don't have to do that. I know one great wallet that I have for a phone is Edge Wallet, made by the guys who made Airbits. Edge Wallet's great. It's very convenient. You just scan, you can put your phone over top of another phone that has a wallet, scan the QR, send it in a second. You'll get it, it'll pend, but it'll be in your wallet. You cannot scam like with a Visa card where they can do chargebacks. You cannot do chargebacks with cryptocurrencies that I know of, not with Bitcoin, not with any of that. So you won't get scammed. And that is the greatest opportunity there, is that it's breaking out of the banking system. You can send like $20,000 for 80 cents or even less. So the fees are nominal to nothing. And you are able to, if you travel to other countries, you and I know, Luke, that using bank accounts, bank cards in other countries can often be a real big pain in the butt, trying to deal with
huge fees.
Yeah, with huge fees, and then them not spitting out your money, and then you having to find another way to spend money in a place to buy food. With cryptocurrencies, you don't have to worry about that. No matter where you go in the world, unless you're in the middle of a jungle in Africa, you will find a way to exchange that Bitcoin or Litecoin or Dash or Digibyte or EOS or whatever for cash. And therefore, you'll be able to...
Yeah. And all you have to do to have a wallet is just remember your keys in your head and nothing else.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and though there is an issue with remembering your keys. I mean, some of these keys are ridiculous. Like they're like 50 letters, numbers, and symbols long. So the best thing to do is to write it down on paper somewhere and keep it put away. And say you're in another country like that, call your friend that's in your town or someone that has access to your home and have them read it to you over the phone. It can be complicated, but it's better than trying to call your bank in a foreign country and them not being open and them not answering the phone and not being able to access your money. I mean, this is a really revolutionary thing that's very convenient and not necessarily like so many other conveniences under the guise of convenience for the purpose of control. Because we see that with a centrally planned cashless system. This isn't through the banks, though. This is your own bank in your pocket. So don't fall for these centralized cryptos. Don't fall for these centralized currencies. Don't fall for China or India's, cashless systems. They're some of the most negative on cryptocurrencies that are decentralized in the world, but they're some of the most cashless societies in the world. And there's a reason for that, because they want control of you. Break out of that control, decentralize, and do your own due diligence. Understand these things. Be educated.
Yeah, and to bring down kind of cryptocurrency, you kind of have to bring down the internet now. Depending on what coins you're interested in and what you're looking at, there's other coins that totally know all of your information. Everything's trackable. There's other coins that are privacy coins. I do believe that the Treasure, which is a device that you have, is the safest, best way to really store and have your cryptocurrencies protected away from scammers, away from hackers, and just really the convenient, the best secure way. I'm going to have a link to the Treasure website below, of course, in this video, so you guys could check out, and strongly recommend doing that. But if you have your cryptocurrency, if you want to start trading and being a part of that, I don't know about you, Josh, but it definitely seems like Bitrex is kind of an easy way to kind of get in there. They do have KYC depending on where you start your account, so they do want information after a certain amount of transaction, certain amount of money that you brought in there. I don't know the exact limit. I think it's like
not
over
necessarily
1,000.
immediate. I mean, if you just start playing around on Bitrex, you don't have to deal with any of that stuff really right away.
Yeah, but even if you don't give them your information, they allow you to withdraw $4,000. But again, they want your information. Just be aware of that as well. And it's very easy to use. There's a lot of tutorials out there how to use Bitrex. It may seem complicated, may seem overwhelming, but once you really kind of get the grasp of it, it's fairly easy. So I would definitely recommend Bitrex. Let me know if you think of any other ones that people should use, Josh.
I want to say one thing there with Bitrex. So when you open up Bitrex, you're going to see all these crazy charts and numbers and all this stuff, and it's going to be a bit overwhelming at first. But let me just tell you, you won't have to click almost any of those buttons. If you want to trade, you just go to the, say you want to trade Bitcoin, BTC, or Dash or something like that. You can just go to them on the side or type them into the search and find them. Use whatever currency that you have to trade into them and out of them. You won't have to go and click all these crazy buttons or go to the lab page and deal with all this crazy computer science stuff. You don't have to do that. So while it's overwhelming, you only have to focus on a few certain things that you have to play with on Bitrex. So don't get overwhelmed. But again, if you want to keep your money safe, don't keep it on these online exchanges because they are dangerous. Eventually, all of these online exchanges will cease to be. Eventually, they will get hacked. Maybe not Coinbase, but Coinbase I find very nefarious, and I would be very, very remiss to say, like, I would be staying away from Coinbase personally. I have refused to touch them because they are so entrenched in government and banks and all that kind of stuff. And the CEOs are pretty open about how they want to track people. So just be very, very vigilant about this kind of stuff because it's a revolutionary.
And there's been some shady play as well with them as well, making some insider trades.
Well, and this is a revolutionary market meant to replace the central banking system, meant to give alternatives with new decentralized blockchain infrastructure for government, just self-governance. This is something that is incredibly revolutionary. So when you get involved in this, know that they will try to do whatever they can to deter you, to take your money, extort you one way or another. This won't last forever. This is a sign of desperation, in my opinion, and a sign that we're doing something right, that this movement is growing, and there's a bit of a desperation move being made by big banks and government to, one, be able to ensure their own wealth, which is going down right now, and two, to be able to control the wealth and to be able to control the people using it, and it will not work. It would be incredibly futile to try and regulate everything, to track everyone, to try and extort everyone. It's not enforceable. So overall, long term, I'd say be vigilant, but be very optimistic because I think we're heading into great territory.
Yeah. And the last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, if you do have some cryptocurrencies, I do believe that there are some good kind of long-term things that you could kind of place them in that I kind of wanted to go over, just kind of get your little feedback on it. But for me, the best thing to kind of have, in my own personal opinion, just for me, is Bitcoin by itself. A lot of people go to all the altcoins and all the small coins, and they're like, we want the 1,000 gains. We want to go to the moon. Well, just having Bitcoin, I think, is one of the smartest things to do as, of course, hedge against the other kind of markets. But if you do decide to trade and stay with us and see what kind of moves we're making for, the 2-week basis, I wanted to kind of talk about the long-term basis because for me, 6 months, a year, a couple years down the line, I think it is worth, investing into privacy coins like Zcash, Monero, Dash. I think as we see more government regulations, more government control, I really do think long-term that these coins are something valuable to kind of put in a little bit of an investment for, of course, the long-term investment. I'm also kind of a fan of Real.tube. It's a new social media platform. I'm excited about that. They have a low market cap now. They're not even public. No one really knows about them, but they're going to be public next year.
Let me just actually cut in for a second, Luke, and correct you. BitTube, real. I think you're mixing up Real Video and BitTube, which is two different things. BitTube is the ticker TUBE, which is this incredibly innovative new version of YouTube. Then there's, I think, Real Video, which was created by the health ranger Mike Adams. But I just wanted to correct you real quick there, because
yes, you're totally right. It's bit.tube, but the coin goes over as tube on Bitrex, and it's a new social kind of media platform that is just emerging. That people are uploading a lot of their content on, and they reward you sort of like a Steemit platform. I could get into this we could talk about this for a half an hour, but these, RealTube, Zcash, Monero, Dash, and Bitcoin by itself are just some of the kind of long-term places where I think it is valuable to hold long-term to see a positive outcome.
Honestly, overall, for being the most prevalent long-term is hodling. I mean, so when a market dips, the altcoins are going to fall faster than Bitcoin. So you'll want to be in Bitcoin when a market dips. But when a market climbs, the altcoins climb faster than Bitcoin. So on the way up, you might want to get into altcoins and then put back into Bitcoin. It hasn't always been that way, but it's usually been that way. But overall, Bitcoin is something that we know isn't going to go away anytime soon. A lot of these altcoins will. And long term, I think it's really important to just look at the most obvious cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin. XRP, Ripple, I can't stand it. It's a terrible centralized currency. With that said, banks and governments are using it and utilizing it as a tool. So I think it's pretty bullish going forward.
And it will do well.
Yeah, it will do well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I mean, it's like a new fiat currency. Will it do well for the short term? Well, I don't know. They print a lot of it. But they're printing a lot of XRP too. So, I mean, short term, there's going to be a bigger market cap for XRP. A lot of banks and governments are going to get into it. But Bitcoin overall is, I think, going to be the most prevalent. Long term, the safest bet, the least volatile, because even though Bitcoin has been very, very volatile this week, which I'm happy about. I like to see big dips and big climbs because it shows some kind of life being beat into Bitcoin after so long seeing it trade sideways. But the altcoins are far more volatile, where while Bitcoin might fall 10% in one day, you'll see some altcoins fall like 30% in one day. So be very, very, very careful. Long term, I think Bitcoin is the safest bet. But with that said, there's so many opportunities. There's so many innovations. It's not all about cryptocurrency. A lot of it is also about blockchain infrastructure, if decentralized, that can change the world, that can create alternatives to government and banks and you name it. It's very important, and I think we're in for an incredible next 10 years watching this develop, because no matter what government and banks do, there's absolutely nothing they can do to stop this idea whose time has come, as Ron Paul would say.
And it's only going to get crazier from here and a little bit more volatile as everything is still figuring itself out. So we want to thank you guys. Thank you, Josh, for being here with me and going through all this information. Don't be overwhelmed. It's okay. There's a lot to learn, but we're going to be doing all the crypto news within the next every 2 weeks. We're going to have a report for you. So definitely stay tuned for a lot of information and a lot of important downloads that hopefully will be mutually beneficial to everyone. Love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more.